you very much, and welcome everyone. I know it's one of the last panels at the end of the day, but for those of you who've been here around the whole day, we've been talking about skills, so we'll be focusing on this, and I'm very happy to be accompanied by distinguished speakers on this. There were quite a few numbers that were shared today around the cybersecurity threat and what that means in terms of potential losses. The last lots of numbers, one of the last ones that we've seen is from the International Monetary Fund, meaning that there's probably around $3.5 billion that are a threat because of these cybersecurity challenges that we have. And of course, we've been talking a lot about the economic and the digital infrastructure, but what we're focusing on here is the shortage of skilled workforce behind this issue here. So it's really something that we've also looked at the OECD, at the Center for Skills. We've done a cybersecurity report looking at the shortage of skilled workforce. We looked at quite a few regions, looking at Europe, we looked at Latin America, we looked at the Five Eyes Alliance as well, and we looked particularly as well at Poland, and we looked at the shortage, the programs that are preparing as well young people and adults to try to help us address this skills shortage. So that's also something that I all would really hope that you consider looking into this report. But let me try to look a little bit at what can be done here with some of the colleagues. So I'll start with you, Michal. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit what the, from a government standpoint, what is being done around cybersecurity shortages in the workforce.
Hi, hello. Well, I'm going to have to say I'm myself an example of a transition, how to come from public policy and digital policy to cybersecurity, right? I was with the government for some time, and I've spent time in various departments, but the cybersecurity thing is quite new to me, and I've been with cybersecurity for 2 years, and in order to get there, I had to pass an exam, right? So on the second day of my work, I just sat down and with everything that I knew and passed the exam. That was okay, and right now I'm part of cybersecurity team of Poland. Now, I mean, every government, because I don't think we have a framework that would help us out on the front of the skill gap. Every government has to experiment and just look around and see if there are any lessons learned and good practices that can be applied in their own constituency. And right now I have to just look at my visual aids, because there are a couple of things that I'd like to talk about, and I don't want to miss anything. I'd like to tell you about 4 things that we do, right? One of the things is the PW Cyber program. This is a program that we have developed in order to have a nice public-private partnership, right? And so it's been around since 2019. We have 47 companies in the program, and there's a 2-way street. And what we do is we work with those companies. Some of them are the usual suspects, big ones like Cisco, like Microsoft, Oracle, right? What we get from them is the knowledge. They come to us and they offer trainings on different levels of IT proficiency. I mean, this program has that we organize trainings for local government, for stakeholders of the national cybersecurity system, on 3 levels: 100, 200, and 300. Those levels are the levels you would normally see in any given cybersecurity conference or any given cybersecurity training program. Depending on how advanced you are in cybersecurity, you get a training tailored to your needs. What the companies get in return is the exposure to the national cybersecurity stakeholders in Poland, being the central government, local governments, and all other cybersecurity service providers, for example, right? And so, we give them something, we get something in return, and what we get is the knowledge, right? And we use that to make a meaningful impact in terms of skills gap. Secondly, I'd like to tell you about this cybersecurity center established at NASK. NASK is one of the national research institutes, right? This is the NASK Cybersecurity Center. It has many phases. One of the phases is the training phase, right? And the Cybersecurity Center established by NASK, it will serve as a training hub for professionals who work for CSIRTs mainly, right? So we will the action response to the needs to create a specialized center to integrate trainings, including specialized trainings, promote cybersecurity in a social context, and operate on the basis of current trends and experiences of CSIRTs. We also have this program, which is an experimental program, which is called the Secure VIP. And what we do is we go from one VIP to another, for example, a parliamentarian, right, or the CEO from a major state-owned company in Poland, and we provide them with a tailor-made program which curricula depends on what they need and how much they are advanced in cybersecurity. So they can pick up the time, they can pick up the curriculum, the program, and we approach them, and this is a one-to-one training, right? And we leave them not only with the knowledge necessary to perform tasks in a secure way in what they do, but it will also give them tools for authentication, for example, right? That's second. Thirdly, we also, and this is an interesting one. In 2023, we had this program co-funded by European money. So some of the money came from the government, some of the money came from Europe. And this is AI Tech, which is the Academy of Innovative Applications of Digital Technology. Sorry, this is a bit of a mouthful. I had to read it out. Right. So for this program, what we did, we established a framework with 5 universities in Poland, 3 of them being technical universities, 2 of them general universities. So we gave them money, they took the money, they came back to their constituencies, and they created majors in artificial intelligence, in machine learning and cybersecurity. And that was our approach at how to provide a systemic framework so that we have students learning about cutting-edge technologies at 5 leading Polish universities, right? And in time, this will produce stuff. The last one, last but not least, is Cybersecurity Fund. Cybersecurity Fund. This is a novelty, and as far as I know, that happened only once, and that was in Poland. Cybersecurity Fund is the special fund by the government, and what we do is if you work for the government, cybersecurity, and you want out, you want to go, for example, to the public sector, we say, okay, just please think twice, because you can have additional extra money if you stay with the government and work for the government, local government or central government or any of the CSIDs, right? You need to provide certificates to make us believe that you are knowledgeable enough, right? So certification is one of the things that we check the eligibility. And secondly, you have to pass an exam, like I did, right? So it's been around for 2 years. I passed the exam, still here. So you have to experiment. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Luca, just wanted to broaden up a little bit more to Europe now. So I mentioned some numbers. There are other numbers that mention that there's about 3.5 million unfilled cybersecurity jobs in the world, of which almost 900,000 in Europe. So can you say a little bit more about this cybersecurity skills shortage in Europe? And perhaps, because we've heard today a lot about the EU strategic investments in this, perhaps some of the initiatives around those.
Yeah, clearly the shortage exists. This is common knowledge. I think one of the problems is really, as I wanted to say during the keynote, is mapping it. Do we really have a clear picture of what are the skill gap, where are the skill gap, what is available to close? I feel we are still in the process of understanding really the map, the situation. We started an initiative to map with the ECCC and with the support of the member state also what are the offers that the market and the university provide. But until it's clear where the map is, where the quantity, it's difficult also to find a common response. I really believe that there is no way to close by just retraining or upskilling or bringing more. We need to address it in a different way. So we really need to look at where we can have a gain, where can we reduce the gap by new technology, AI, for example. Where can we simplify transition of skilled people from one industry to the next? Maybe the AI will introduce some surplus in other parts of the industry. Maybe we could use this. But a clear map is at the moment not present. The Commission has done some study. We have done some study. It's still an ongoing discussion. Yeah, I think this is really the situation. It's a common experience. Everybody knows that when you recruit, look for IT professional, it's more and more difficult. We need to also to make sure that we don't only have IT. We need to have people who provide a different content. We need to have lawyers. We need to have social. We need to have other profession closing the gap. It's not just a pure IT gap.
Thank you, Luigi. Your institute is really looking at trying to strengthen cyber and resilience. How is the skills shortage affecting this, and what are you doing about it?
Well, let me say, first of all, that let me make the difference between the workforce gap and skills gap, because there are two different things. The workforce gaps is, let's say, is the number of people which the market is missing, so you can count them. The skills gap is the competence of the people, which is variable. It can be different kind of the STEM, but also the lawyers, the salesmen, and so on. And this competence is not really difficult to be quantified. So there is, when we say that there is in the world there are millions of lack of workforce, doesn't mean the same as the skill gap. The skill gap can be even in the citizens. You know, that they are not, they don't have the right cyber hygiene and so on. It could be in the market, the people who are the professionals, the user. So the skill gap is somehow everywhere in cybersecurity, and that's the big effort we try to cover because in what we do in ECSO is to start from the students, from the youth, let me say, very young. Actually, we have a kind of initiative starting from the 6-year-old up to, I mean, there was the introduction we had. That's the education has to go on. Indeed, today what we have to do is the lifelong education, because that the evolution of cybersecurity of technology, we need to have a lifelong education. So in ECSO, we have to take care of the education, of the training, and to bring the people to a certain level of awareness and competence, both to be citizens, not to have problem of fraud or whatever, but also the professional to be ready to react and to adopt the right measures, solutions against cyber threats and so on. So it's quite complex. For this reason, we started in ECSO developing several modules on several issues, as I said, the training, the mentoring, the role models, and so on. And now we brought all this together in what we call the platform. It's the Road to Cyber. The Road to Cyber is a platform where we give, really, we show the road, the way, we show the way from when you're young up to want to be hired. So we have a pool of people who are looking for a job, but before that, we have the link with the human resources in the different companies who need to also there to understand what are the real needs, because the needs in cybersecurity is a new domain. Sometimes they're not, let me say, educated, trained for that. How you can define really a Chief Information Security Officer profile is still something that we are working also with ENISA to define the profile, and you ask to one country what they need as a CISO, and in another country they have similar definition, but even can be also different. So it's really, and they know what they are supposed to do themselves. You can imagine a human resource who needs to hire something. Then you need to hire for a specific application, for a large company, for a smaller one, for whatever. So we have a very huge effort to be done across Europe, first to understand what are the needs, then to provide solutions for these different needs. Again, from the citizens up to professional, to the decision makers, because covering the gap, whatever workforce or the skill, it's a very huge effort.
Yep. Thank you, Luigi. The work we did at the OECD Center for Skills was in cooperation with Microsoft, looking at cybersecurity skills, and Luigi just mentioned as well both sort of shortages in the workforce and also in the skills. But it really brings us to the education and training. So what is Microsoft doing? What are you doing in trying to really address this and help this?
Absolutely, and thank you so much for having us. Today, I mean, the topic of shortage of cybersecurity skills has been very much a fil rouge of the discussion, and we're actually glad to have this conversation as well, together with other type of stakeholders, to look at what we can collectively achieve. From Microsoft's side, even from our own research and analysis, our Microsoft Digital Defense Report highlighted how in 2023 alone, there's been an increase of 35% in the demand of cybersecurity skills and into cybersecurity profiles professionally. So the way that we try to also be part of the solutions into this is very much into sharing the trainings, the resources, and to the grants. At local level, we partner with local businesses, local governments, educational institutions, and also non-profit organizations to very much prepare programs, in this case for cybersecurity, targeted for cybersecurity, that are very much targeted to the local needs. But also at European level, we are active, for example, as pledgers of the EU Cybersecurity Skills Academy, a strategic effort to identify, to put together these resources. So we've pledged to train quite a number of learners around Europe. How we do that? That is done via our Microsoft Learn platform, where we offer trainings and resources that are, to the conversation we were having earlier, very much targeted to both IT professionals so more sophisticated and complex courses per se, but as well as to the general public for some basic cyber hygiene and awareness knowledge as well. And that is also complemented by the Skills for Jobs learning pathways available on Microsoft and via Microsoft and LinkedIn, where we very much offer as well system administrator courses, career essentials in cybersecurity, Microsoft Copilot for cybersecurity courses. For us, this is very much of interest and where we see a lot of impact, and it goes along with Microsoft's broader mission to empower organizations and people on the planet to achieve more. So we want to provide as much support as we can, starting at global level as well as at European level, but partner also with the right institutions at local level to address specific local market needs.
Yeah. Maria, let me just follow up. Out of all these interventions, where have you seen the most impact?
Working at local level, hearing the specific stories, when we hear the testimonials of the learners that we engage with, that's where it's really impactful. Just today, my colleague was giving away the awards for the Cyber Trainees Initiative together with the Kuczynsko Institute, which is an effort that we do very much at Polish level. Because what we have not mentioned so far is that within the cyber workforce, women make up only 25% of the workforce. So in Poland, for example, we've partnered with the Kuczynsko Institute to train Polish and Ukrainian women, more specifically, in a program that we call From Zero to Hero, because it started with very much the basics in the training, and some of the learners and engaged participants then went on to more sophisticated and specialized courses out of that. So hearing the local stories and impact is what drives us to continue doing this.
Okay. So, Yann, one thing is attracting talent. Another thing is attracting diverse talent. And Campus Cyber is actually doing quite a lot in this. Perhaps you can say a little bit about Campus Cyber for those of you who don't know it, but also a little bit what you're doing about increasing the diversity in cybersecurity workforce.
Yes. So Campus Cyber is a private and a public initiative that we launched in France. We are quite new. We just opened 2 years ago. And we, right now, we host more than 300 organizations, public and private. It's more than 6,000 experts who have access to the campus. And our main goal is to be stronger together as an ecosystem. And effectively, we have 3 main missions. The first one is about education. So we try to attract more talents in our field. The second mission is about innovation. So we try to create more synergies between public and private actors to use new technology like AI or quantum. And the last objective is about protection. We try to help the less mature organization like SMEs to cyber protect themselves. And about the situation in France, like everywhere, we have a shortage of cyber talents. According to the last OECD report, we have 60,000 jobs unfilled. So for a long time in France, we focus on 2 aspects. First, we try to increase the range of training, and second, we try to work on educational innovation. But today we think that it's not enough. We need to indeed we see that we have a lot of training who are closing because we miss because due to a lack of applicants. So this is why we focus on two action. We try to make these courses better known and more attractive, and we also try to encourage students to consider these courses well before post-secondary courses, education. In France, we have also other broader public policy issues. For example, we have girls dropping out of science at primary level, and we have also a shortage of teachers, in particular in science. So this year we have launched one initiative that we have called Tomorrow Specialist Cyber. We try to reach 6 million young students. So we design some posters, and these posters are displayed in all the schools in France to show the diversity on the meaning of the cyber security jobs. So I think I'm convinced that we need to attract a diverse range of profile, not just engineers. And we want to move away from the stereotype of the young geek in a hoodie. So this campaign was made in partnership with the Minister of Education. And it was very important because with this partnership we can reach the teachers and the advisory education. Yeah.
Thanks. Michal, Yann just mentioned collaboration, and that's very much at the French level, but of course one thing we've seen is that cybersecurity doesn't understand borders. So how are you collaborating with the other countries within Europe and perhaps beyond, that you could share with us some of the interesting initiatives?
Yeah, thank you for this question. I don't think, as I said, there is no single framework that we could use to that end, right? And again, I mean, if you want this collaboration, you have to reach out yourself to countries, right? You have little lessons learned out there, but there is knowledge out there. You just have to reach your hand out and tap on it. And I remember 2 or 3 years ago, no, that was in 2022. We were on this business trip to the US, and we had a meeting with the White House people, right? And one of the questions we asked them was, okay, did you have a major problem in cybersecurity? Did you overcome it? And is there anything that we can learn from you leading up to you having overcome the problem you had? And they said, yes, that was critical infrastructure in the energy sector, right? So we said, okay, so why don't you just come down to Poland and make a workshop, right? And they said, okay, but just Poland, that would be too little impact. We would need more countries to be at the table. So we said, okay, I mean, we will have 10 countries. So we will provide the venue, we'll provide the accommodation and the meals, and you provide the trainers, and you will provide the curricula. And they had one, and we had one more condition. That was that we invite Ukraine people, right? The first responders in the energy sector, right? And this is how it came about. I mean. The first edition of this workshop was in 2023 in January. We had 10 countries, including Ukraine. Each country had to provide 5 people. They were first responders in the energy sector, utility providers, and first responders from the energy sector, from the critical infrastructure, right? And the Department of Energy, they had this curricula based on the findings from the big blackout in Ukraine in 2014, right? So they made a case of that, and that was the basis of the scenario they used, right? So what they did, they just walked those 50 people through what happened then and what could have been done to avoid that, right? So that was very much hand-on exercise on how we can overcome things like that, big blackouts, right? In the turbulent times a war is, right? So that was good, and we say and we say, so why don't we have another edition, right? And in 2024, this year, we had another edition. I mean, the second edition. We had a different formula for that. The formula was the red team exercise. So the damage has been done, and first responders come in, and here is where the scenario starts, with how we respond to the damage that has been done. Right. So that was the blue team exercise, and. What we achieved by that, I mean, we achieved two things. First of all, we get to be trained by cutting-edge professionals, right? People who have the knowledge, did have a problem, and did find a solution to overcome the problem. We teach people in those countries. Not all of them were European countries. Some of them were countries that you would find exotic in terms of how they are on the map. But as you said, there are no borders in cybersecurity, right? And you have to really, I mean, you have to look for countries. If you're not like-minded with the country, you have to put some effort in to make the country be like-minded with you, right? So that's one thing. We get knowledge, and we get communities. I mean, we create communities that haven't been there before, right? So these people, once they are pitted against each other, because they compete, right? There are teams, and they compete for the best score, right? Once they've had this kind of experience, they stay in touch. They create a community, right? So that's one of the things we did, right? And we are cooking up the third installment of that, right? And the third installment is twofold. One of them is the train the trainer, which is, okay, we will have, for this third edition, we'll have people who will come down to us and will be trained in order to have this kind of exercise in their respective constituencies, right? Okay, when this is done, we will go for another edition of the workshop, of the hands-on workshop. So if there is no framework, think of one, and just follow through.
Yeah. Okay. Maria, let's stay within this cooperation. So cooperation among governments, but this is not only a government issue. So can you say a little bit more about the public-private partnerships in this area?
We find it very crucial, unsurprisingly, per se, for knowledge sharing, information sharing, and to find the solutions to cooperate into building the workforce. You did mention earlier the OECD reports, which is an initiative that we were pleased to partner with. And I wanted to highlight in particular some of the findings from the last set of the series, which was released in February, because, as you mentioned, it focused on Germany, France, as well as Poland, which is quite timely for today. These type of reports are, of course, very much of importance for us also to learn what is the market situation, the conditions that will help us to understand how to address this locally. And thanks to the rising digitalization of Poland per se, one of the key findings and learning that stood out of that was how the demand for cyber professionals in Poland increased by over 3 times since more or less since the beginning of the pandemic per se. So based on that, we're also, as mentioned earlier, we do develop programs and initiatives targeting at local level. Where Microsoft plays a role, of course, we don't design the curricula at university, at education level, because that's obviously job of the government. We try to bring in a direction when it comes to the overall upskilling and the lifelong learning resources that were mentioned earlier, because learning does not end at the end of school and of university, and that's why we utilize both the self-paced type of trainings that can be accessed online, as well as cooperation and partnerships with targeted local partners, the Koczynsko Institute here in Poland, but we collaborate with Fondation Samplon in France, Fondazione Mondo Digitale in Italy, quite a few of these partners to develop targeted programs for the learners locally.
Thanks. Luca, collaboration among stakeholders is of course extremely important beyond the public-private partnership. So looking at collaboration with industry, with academia, how are you fostering that type of collaboration?
Yeah, I'm actually following back on what was said by the other panelists, Maria and Luigi, how essential, and I like the example that they made on the training organ that they offer. Collaboration is at the core of our mission. I mean, we have been designed with this objective in mind, to make sure that this, which are world-scale problem or European-scale problem in our case, are tackled together. So, with the public entity, but with the private entity. So, we do this in two ways. Let's say, first we set the agenda. So we decide together with the member state, but also in consultation with the industry, where do we want to put the funds? What are the strategy that we want to address together? Once this is done, and this is like every 3 years, then the other way that we cooperate with the private is by providing funds. So it's always a 50% investment. We provide as union 50% of the funds, the private company, the other institution provide the remaining. So the collaboration is built into that. As I said before, we have already invested around maybe, we target by the end of the year 700 millions. 12% is just on education. So it's a lot of money which have been already put into the research, university, general education. So this is the two ways that we do. The third way is the construction of the community. The community is this ecosystem at European level. We gather all the stakeholders, all those who have an input or vested interest in be part of the cyber community. So this is also where we want to create this partnership. So not just with projects, but also create strategic partnership between a member state, private organization, and so on. We have support the common skill framework, which also will help this harmonization of the skill, the skill, again, the framework, so the list of things which are necessary for you as a professional to be competitive in the market. And we support also training for persons who are in the middle of their career, who want to move. But again, this is essentially done with the member state. We cannot do training. We need to rely on the company who do it professionally. We want to help this process. We want to somehow steer it, but not being the one doing it.
Luigi, we discussed diversity, and not just for the sake of diversity, is that if we have to address these shortages, we need to look into a diverse workforce and diverse skill set as well. So you founded Women for Cyber. This is an area where women are lacking. What have you seen has improved, and perhaps what do you think needs to still be done to really increase the presence of women in this sector?
Well, sorry, yeah. The idea came in 2017 because at the time there was a commission communication to say that by 2022 Europe would have needed 320,000 experts and in cybersecurity. And the point is that beyond the fact it was politically correct, that we didn't call it diversity or whatever, but you know, I'm an engineer. I was discussing with the person who now is the dean of the Politecnico di Milano, which is also a lady, as a professor. And we said, as engineer, statistically, we will never make it because funds will arrive, will take a certain time, and so on, and all this. The quickest solution is to bring women to the job, to find the other 50%. The other half as you can call, the other half of cybersecurity. And that came up, and it grew up very quickly, in a sense that with the Commissioner Maria Gabriel in 2019, we started this initiative, and now we have 28 chapters across Europe, more than 70,000 followers. So it's a huge machine which is somehow is growing even without pushing, because women have realized that there is an opportunity there, that they want, that's an interesting career, also because for different reasons, also the COVID somehow helped that, because remote working helps women to follow the family in a different way, to work and still follow the family. So there are a lot of interest, interesting things that added up to create this movement. Indeed, when we started, the statistics were something like 11%. Now, okay, she said 25, other numbers you have around, I mean, our estimation that we are around 20% in Europe. Global level is more 24. But still we are far from whatever it could be, the half. Well, the half is somehow ideal, but it's, for me, you know, we don't consider women as a special something. They are just person with skills. And this is exactly what we want to help, to find a person to push women to grow again, to fill the gap. And it's still very difficult, because in certain environment, you still feel some, let's say, difficulty to hire women for whatever reason. I don't want to go in detail. And we try to also to overcome this kind of prejudice and so on. What is important to say is that we see the change, whether it is from 11 to 20 or 25, whatever. We see the change in relatively few years, let me say. We don't ask to impose a kind of quota, pink quota, because even women, they are very often against this pink quota. But we are strongly recommending, even in the new version of the statutes of ECSO, we recommend to bring women in the board of directors, so that the companies which are member of ECSO will bring women in the board of directors, because we need this kind of diversity. And
which also has an impact on mentoring and on also
it's a mentoring,
role
but
models.
You know, the mentoring is well, she was mentioning something about the awards that they're giving today. But for me, we are having our association in Brussels, and people know that I'm not very much a policy guy. I like concrete results. And when we started doing mentoring with experts to women and so on, and the women coming back to us to say, thanks to this, I found a job. This is much, much better than going to lobby to the European Parliament for a regulation which is legal body.
Let me just add on this. From an external viewpoint, Women for Cyber is a success story. So we really cannot keep up with the idea all the time. So it's really nice to see such an engaged network in all member states. So really kudos to Luigi for this.
And what is it? Well, you mentioned how it can improve. We are inventing every day, like in cybersecurity and acting next. We're inventing every day what can be done next, because there's so much to do, and the interaction between the different national chapters is bringing new ideas, new developments. Each country has to develop its own approach, has the freedom to invent its own approach. But the link, the best practices across the countries, this is very profitable. And again, one of the big problems we have in Europe is still the diversity of maturity of the different countries. But we see also countries like in the Balkans that somehow they're even not part of the European Union, but some countries like Kosovo and so on are extremely active in this domain, and they're bringing ideas that maybe in larger countries, I know, well, large country of Europe, they still have more difficulty because of tradition, let me say.
Innovation can come from anywhere. Yann, beyond women as well, the types of diversity, looking now at more socioeconomically disadvantaged persons, how are you working in increasing that type of diversity?
For me, diversity in cybersecurity is not just a question of inclusion or just a way to increase the pool. In fact, diversity is necessary to be efficient. So we need a diverse point of view. We need different methods of reasoning to address the cyber threats. So for me to address this question of diversity, we need to focus on two aspects. First one, we need to feminizing the field. It's not currently in France, for example, we have only 11% of women in the workforce. So this means we are missing out half of the potential of the workforce. So we need to fight against stereotype of the geek in a woody. And I think that we need also to attract younger generation. So, for example, we are working in France in some serious game with secret services for young people. We are working also on a platform of OSINT, open source intelligence, with some challenges dedicated for young people. And we are working this year on a campaign with a podcast in radio, with an activation of influencers in YouTube and Instagram to be where the young people are. And I'm convinced that we need to work on the imaginaries of our jobs to show that there are a lot of diversity of jobs on the meaning of the cybersecurity jobs who are jobs of care. And I think that we need to feminize and to work on younger generation. And if we do that, we will enlarge the workforce at the European scale.
Thanks a lot. I'd like to open up to the audience if there are any questions, and perhaps there's a roving mic around. If there are any questions. In the meantime, I just want to still touch upon AI, of course, and with its increasing integration within the business processes, how you think this may affect actually the cybersecurity skills and job shortages, and what you think perhaps are some of the additional risks. Anyone?
May I go?
Yes.
Yeah, because actually this is one of the issues we are tackling since a few weeks, let me say, in ECSO. Because members came up to say, hey, when we talk about skills, what about the future needs about AI skills, about AI and cybersecurity? Because today still AI is not well known. And the skills that we are developing today on cybersecurity very likely will not the skills need tomorrow for AI and cybersecurity. So we are still discussing now these days what should be the skills need tomorrow. Well, tomorrow means even tomorrow morning, not that far. But in AI and cybersecurity, because the world will be different, the need will be different. So we are preparing for the traditional need in cybersecurity, but we have to think out of the box and think what will be the need for tomorrow, the skills, the need in skills, with this new configuration which is to come.
Anyone else? Yes. Oh.
From our side, we are adopting an approach where, on the one hand, we are providing new courses and trainings focused on AI, on Gen AI, on how to do good prompting, up to more specialized courses for that, so that sort of standardized learning pathway. And at the same time, we're also getting from the partners and nonprofits that we already collaborate with lots of questions to prepare targeted programs most focused on this. So we're also revisiting some of the initiatives, programs that we do with local partners across Europe and, of course, globally, to target that most closely to the AI questions that we get.
Thanks. Question in the audience? Yes, there's one there.
Thank you so much, Yann from ECSO. So I would have one, maybe even closing question to the panel. As we all know, we are waiting for the new EU institutions and new political leaders coming into Brussels, and also we are expecting some changes across Europe. What would be your main recommendation to those newcomers to tackle the issue of the cybersecurity talents shortage? Thanks.
I cannot talk I don't want to talk. I think I'll
Okay.
leave it.
Let's say that investment in, you know, when cybersecurity is not going to end tomorrow, it will be for a long, long period. So you need to find short-term solution, long-term solution, and very long-term, or mid-term, or very long-term solution. The long-term solution is the education of children. That's why I was mentioning you have to start from very young, not only for the cyber hygiene, but you have to start very young because they will be the professional in 20 years. And it takes time to grow them up. But cybersecurity will be there in 20 years and will have different challenges. But you have to start now. And starting soon will cost less than try to rise up quickly a cyber expert, which you need in 6 months, let me say. Then you have the midterm, which are those who are already at school that you try to push them into certain job and so on. And then there are those who have to do reskilling, the upskilling, as you call it, which are already in the companies that they may be changing job. So all these need resources, sometimes longer or shorter, but investment. So for the political level, you need this to be understood. And we were discussing with the Deputy Prime Minister, there will be indeed, in Poland, there will be indeed some investment in the area of developing these skills, but we need all across Europe, because this is not something you can invent in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's a long-term investment where you can have some quick-term return, but you also have to expect long-term. So this is what they should be understood by political decision, by the next political decision makers.
Michael, I think you wanted to intervene?
Yes, I changed my mind. I'll say a
Lucas,
couple
okay,
of
go ahead.
words. I think what we need, this is a very broad topic, which cover a lot of, generally, digital skill. It'll cover different DG, different mission, different. What I really would like to see is a unified vision. So this is something that need to be tackled really at, at the council level. We need to have a unified vision, and then we need to have the resources for implementing. So I think this is what really we all would like to see, and I'm sure, this is already happening, because that's where we can provide a common response. Otherwise, it's very scattered.
Michael, you have the last word.
This is a very good question, actually, right? And because there are we don't know what the new commission will look like, right? And but everybody has an idea in their head what the commission should do, right? And as the next presidency, we've been campaigning with this notion: no more regulations, just implement, right? So if I said right now that we need more regulation on how we can help the skill gap, that would throw me in a hypocrisy discussion. So what I would say right now is we have the cybersecurity fund that I touched upon briefly. So my message to the new commission would be as follows. Create a big cybersecurity European fund, throw a lot of money on the table, right, and let countries and foundations and different establishments in those countries compete for projects where they can interlink with one another and come up with innovative programs on education. And that would be my thing. So, no regulation, money.
Okay, clear call for action. Thank you very much, everyone, for this panel. And with this, I'll hand over to the organizers. Thank you very much.